Well, More Than I Do is our podcast. We've been married for 16 years and in business together for 8. And so we just felt like we had something to say, something to share with business owners and married couples that are in business together. It's an area where, there's a lot of challenges and we don't know everything, but we can talk about the things that we have learned and some of the things that we went through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we didn't have a blueprint. Right? Not from being married and in business.
Yeah, the reality is there's really not a blueprint sometimes, I think, because, when we first got married, after about the third year, I sat down and I talked to my dad and my uncles and said, hey, I told you guys I was getting married 3 years ago, 4 years ago, however long it was.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't tell me about some of the things that I'm going through right now. And it's almost like they wanted me to kind of just learn on my own. So I don't think there is a blueprint. You got to learn on your own.
Well, we're hoping to at least not necessarily give you a blueprint to be exactly like us, but give you some things that help you kind of navigate through some of the challenges and some of the pitfalls that we had. So hopefully you can continue to be successful in marriage and in business. With that being said, today, our kind of theme for today is triggers.
Okay, triggers.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, explain to the host, to the audience, what is a trigger?
Okay, so let's talk about it. What is a trigger? So when you get married and you're learning each other, don't really know each other, things can escalate, right? They can escalate, and sometimes they escalate fast, and sometimes things just kind of keep escalating till they get to a point where you guys are not on the same page at all. Mm-hmm. And that definitely happened to us early on in marriage. Yeah. Over the 16 years, what we realized was to learn those signs and understand the triggers that went along with those signs that allowed us to kind of get off the same page. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about off the same page, now, usually when you first get married, you can finish each other's thoughts and know what the other one's thinking before they even say it and all of those things.
And even if you got it wrong, we're going to agree because we in that lovey-dovey phase,
That's so nice.
I know.
But then you get off the page because of maybe you guys are working and the hours are different, or you have kids and you're spending more time with the kids than you are with each other, or different things like that. Mm-hmm. So you tend to get off the page, which means that you easily are annoyed, mm-hmm. easily can have an argument, easily can offend, right?
Yep.
And so those are kind of like knowing the signs or knowing the triggers that happen. So over the 16 years, one of the things that we realized and one of the things we notice is when we're getting off the same page.
Yeah.
And we notice that the quicker we can realize that, the faster we can address it, mm-hmm. and move on.
Yeah. It took a while for us to get there. We don't have it perfect yet, but you're right. The quicker you can address it, because the longer that it lingers, the more small things will annoy you, like the toilet seat or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember do you remember a time when we went through anything? Anything pops in your mind?
Nothing really pops in my mind.
It's like, what do you mean? There's a whole lot of stuff. Popcorn going on in here.
Yes. whole lot of things. But it's just one of those things. I remember as we was talking about the show that we were going to have today, I began to think about just me in different stages in my life and within this marriage. Mm-hmm. And so like when I was in the beginning of the marriage, it was okay. I didn't really agree with that. That was a trigger that kind of upset me. And I began to just voice my opinion. But then I felt like when I was voicing my opinion, it kind of started arguments. Mm-hmm. And so I went through a phase where I just bit my tongue. Every time I wanted to say something, I just bit my tongue and not said anything at all. But guess what? That still caused some kind of argument or disagreement. And so I decided in the third phase that I'm in, we're just going to talk about it. And whether we agree or disagree, we're going to at least have it on the table so that she understands where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. And we can at least move forward so we're not bickering at one another and mumbling under our breath.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the things that I realized, and I think that we kind of see it around the same time, but I probably see it faster, is when we are not connecting like we usually do. Usually, there's a rhythm to marriage. There's a rhythm to you two interacting together. And like I said, if you're working a long hours or something disrupts kind of the pattern of what you're used to, then you can get off of that rhythm. And it could get where you're kind of on two different rhythms. And it could be anything. It could be that I'm emotionally going through something, doesn't have anything to do with him, just something happened in my life or something happened in his life or at work or wherever it may be that causes that rhythm to be off. Or, traveling. If one of us is traveling for a long time and we're not together, then you get used to your own rhythm and your own beat. And then you get back together and you're kind of clashing because your rhythms and your beats don't go together, right?
Yeah.
So, the faster we learn to say, hey, something's off here, the less arguments we started having, the more conversations we started having, especially with him just not saying, well, if I say that, that's going to end up in a long conversation, which might end up in an argument, and I'm not trying to go down the road, so I'm just not going to say nothing at all. And then I'm just still fussing. That's why we still have arguments, because I'm like, I see you have something to say. You could just see it all over your face, and you're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't have a good poker face, guys. I wear my emotions, and so she can definitely tell when we are kind of off tilt, off key with one another. So yeah, it's better for me to just go ahead and say it. But then again, sometimes I'm not quite ready to say it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm trying to formulate it because sometimes it comes off rough.
Right.
And if it's rough in my mind, just know that your partner is going to be rough to them too. And remember, key one, I love this girl. This is the one I chose to be with forever. And so you don't want to use incorrect words that will cut deep, because your tongue is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I just have to cool down about a situation before I bring it to her to have a conversation.
Yes, your chair keeps talking and it's irritating me.
Okay.
See if that helps.
Oh,
okay.
You did move my thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. So, sorry, that was just bothering me in this ear. Yeah. So that's a good key point is understanding the tone of what you're bringing across, right? So it could be that it's just a bad week. Just a lot of hectic, especially now we're in the pandemic.
Yes.
Triggers could definitely be these four walls are just closing in on you. Maybe your spouse is used to being at home, happy, just enjoying themselves, and to the other one, the walls are closing in, which could cause you guys to be off rhythm because I'm just not feeling it right now, right? Yeah. Not that anybody did anything all the time. It's just things happen. And because that rhythm's not there, Derrick just recently went home. He had to go home to Eastern North Carolina, and I was so happy he went. You know why I was happy you went?
Peace and quiet, and it's just something about going home, guys. Yeah, I've had this feeling even after I went away for college. It was like college, I was there, but when I went home, I could sleep and I could rest in peace. Yeah. And it's, again, while I have my own home here, it's still something about going and see mom and going to see dad. So yeah, and
being spoiled.
Well, I mean,
that's a whole nother topic. We're not talking about that today. It's a whole nother topic.
But as I was driving home, I left really early in the morning, so it wasn't a lot of traffic, and it was just peaceful on the road. And I was just so thankful for that, because we are in a pandemic where we're sharing this house together. And one of the things that we've determined is this office, we can't share an office. It's just not going. It's just not going to work. Yeah. And so the pandemic caused a trigger, and that trigger said we have to make another room in the house an office. Yeah. And that's what we are planning to do. And just like it's triggers in your marriage, it's triggers in your business as well. Yeah. Where your business may be running smooth, and then something happens and it's off. That is a trigger. And how do you address it?
Right. So right before we get to the triggers of the business, I want to just finish this thought about you going home.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew that he needed to get away. being his wife, being with him, knowing that the four walls is kind of closing in on you, closing in on both of us. But I think you more so than me, just because of some of the heavy things that you've been dealing with, audits and all kinds of heavy things in the business. And so with that being said, I knew that you needed to kind of get away. And I was happy that I wasn't able to go with him. And some of you be like, what do you mean you were happy you weren't able to go with him? Because sometimes you need to be apart. Sometimes you just need some time to yourself. And as much as I love going back east, and as much as I love mom and dad and family there and seeing everybody and being spoiled as well, I tease him all the time, but we both get spoiled. I knew that he needed that break, one, away from the house, two, some peace and quiet, because if we're in the car, I'm going to be talking, because that's just what I do, or sleep. So either way, I'm going to annoy him, because annoy him sleep or annoy them talking. Or three, that he just needed to be alone, just peace and quiet for himself, going down there, having his mom and dad to himself. Nobody else was there. His brother wasn't there. The grandchildren weren't there. They weren't really expecting you to kind of come. So it was a surprise for them. And you have to understand that. You have to understand that it's not always that you solve things together. Sometimes you solve things together by being apart. And that's giving each other space, knowing that each other is an individual, and knowing that each other has their own process that they need to go through, but recognizing quickly, hey, we're off. What's happening? What's different? What's happening? And then sometimes the off means we need to just go get away.
That's right.
We need to take a day, and we'll just say, hey, I don't need my work colleague. I need my spouse today. Let's go. And we used to go to the movies in the middle of the day, or go to the park and sit and have lunch in the middle of the day, or to the lake, or to the beach for a couple days or something like that. And that was not those, and those aren't planned vacations. Those were just, I see we're off. And before it goes further, because it could get nasty. It could get very nasty. The longer you stay off, the longer you don't address the things that are happening, and the longer you're off. And those, we had a show called Uncomfortable Conversations. You know, you have to have the uncomfortable conversations. If something is happening and you're feeling a certain kind of way, one, if he's feeling a certain kind of way, he has to know that I love him enough for him to be able to talk to me about whatever it is, even if it's about me or my family. Number two, I have to know that he loves me enough to respect my feelings while he's telling me, and I respect his feelings, which means that we can have the uncomfortable conversation. I may not like what he has to say, but we can sit and find some commonality in it. That's pretty much marriage.
That's any kind of partnership, actually.
Any kind of partnership. There you go. Any kind of partnership. So when you realize things are off and that there's something that's been triggered, you got to stop to say, wait a minute, what's happening? What's going on here? So that you can get back on the same page. And you know when you're on the same page, because that's when you're skipping along. Everybody's happy. You're looking at him with the little googly eyes. He's looking back at you with the googly eye. Did you look at me with the googly eyes? Look back at me. He looks at you with the googly eyes, and you guys are just, life is just, it doesn't mean that life is perfect. It just means that you guys are on the same page and moving. It doesn't matter. Kids could be terrorizing the world. It doesn't matter. You two are on the same page. Same thing as Derrick was talking about in business. What triggers are happening or events that are happening over and over and over in your business that you're not paying attention to?
It could be something as service to a client, or I forgot. I done lost my train of thought of what else I was going to say. But
I got you, babe.
Go ahead.
So think about it, and I got you.
Go ahead.
So think about this. In your business, what keeps happening over and over again? Negatively. What keeps happening with your clientele or with your staff? That you keep dealing with the same issue. Different client, different staff member, but the same issue over and over. There's some type of trigger there that you're not addressing. There's something that's happening that you're not addressing. We realized that there's a service that we did not need to provide because it wasn't the best. We could do it.
We could do it.
But it wasn't the best place for us to be. And that was in bookkeeping. The other abilities that we have are far beyond bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is important, and we don't look down upon it because you can't do anything without bookkeeping. And as you know, our business is a financial firm. We do outsourced chief financial officer work, which means that we partner with CEOs to help them make sure the financial side is matching where they want to go operationally. Mm-hmm. So if I'm stuck in bookkeeping, I can't help you forecast, strategize, and plan or look at the numbers. Now, we need bookkeeping to be done, but that doesn't mean that we need to do it. And we found that we were failing our clients when it came to bookkeeping. So that was a trigger. That was something that was happening over and over, and is a negative thing. So one, that would make us at odds, mm-hmm. right? Because things aren't happening right with our clients. It would make us at odds with our clients because they weren't getting the best service that they should be getting. So what did we do? We found a way to outsource the bookkeeping, partner with an accounting firm that's been doing accounting for 15 to 20 years. Shout out to the bean counters.
Yes.
That's been doing business for 15 to 20 years. That's what they do. That's their lane, and they do it well. So they handle that piece for us so that we can handle what we do well. And that's strategy, that's ratios, mm-hmm. that's looking at the business as a whole and helping them get to where they need to go, but knowing that the numbers are done.
Basically, improve profit. That's everything she just said boils down to we're working with businesses to increase their profit. But going back to what I was thinking, was also with your staff. You mentioned it. Sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations with your staff because in order for you to go where you need to go, your staff needs to understand and do the things that you need them to do for you to be successful. And sometimes you got to have that uncomfortable conversation because I've been in times where I've had staff where they really wasn't cutting it. And it's just one of those things you have to have that uncomfortable conversation. And that was a trigger, especially if it's repetitive.
When you start paying because their mistakes start costing you money. Yep. And they're simple mistakes that make them have to do the process all over, which means that now I'm paying you for when you made a mistake and I'm paying you for you to fix the mistake. That something as simple as that is something that needs to be addressed. We got to address this, and we got to figure out maybe there's a new process we need to put in place. Maybe this is not the right place for you to be, mm-hmm. and we need to find where you need to be. Yep. That can equate to staff and business can equate to children at home, right?
That's right, because just because you have them in a particular role, they may be in that wrong role for your organization. Not to say they need to be fired. They just might need to be in another role.
Or they may just need to be fired.
Or they may just need to be fired. I mean, sometimes that happens. But
he's like, let's find another place. I'm like, nope, next.
True, but the same with your kids.
Yes.
If they have chores, one child may do a chore better and enjoy that actual chore, where another child may not and can switch roles. Mm-hmm. And so, because you can't fire a kid.
No, you can't fire a kid, but this goes to being having adult children still at home.
Okay.
And if they're hindering you from progressing or moving in the way that you need to because you're moving around them, or they're getting complacent, then it's time to fire them, so to speak, meaning kick them out of the house or help them matriculate on in society to where they need to go, which could very well be another trigger that could be happening between you and your spouse, mm-hmm. is because I'm not happy. I can't do what I want to do in my own house. I'm not happy here right now. I don't feel like this is my house because they just have taken over or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Could be the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
So now, please, if you're with us live, we want to hear your comments and we want to hear your questions as we're talking about this.
Yep.
Really, really, we do. I think that the other thing is we talked about staff, but we didn't talk about customers.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to fire customers, or sometimes you have to have the hard conversation with customers. Especially if you're seeing certain things repeated, it may mean that you need to put a different policy in place. Yeah. It may mean that you need to engage with clients in a different way, or it may mean that you need to hold the client more accountable for their portion of the relationship. Because remember, it's a business relationship, which means that each party comes to the table with responsibilities.
Yeah, I think there has to be an adjustment made to the phrase, the customer's always right. I don't think that the customer is always right. You have to have your
Sometimes,
values for your business,
yeah.
and if that client does not fit within those values, then that's a client or customer that you have that you probably shouldn't have.
They may not be the right client or customer for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a myth that everybody think that every client is my client.
Yeah.
If I sell face cream, if you got a face, you're my client. That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if I do hair, if everybody got hair, that's my client. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. And that means that you're not clear about why you're in business. And the clearer you get about why you're in business, maybe why you're having some of these triggers that we're talking about with clients, and having your relationships are always ending in a bad relationship at the end, right? Breaking off as a bad relationship. It may be because you're not clear yourself first.
Yeah. And a lot of times, new businesses starting, we are not clear.
Right.
I remember us starting, we were not clear.
New marriages starting.
You're not clear. You're not clear what to expect when you get married.
Yeah.
I tell the story about the Saturday morning. I was working on the outside. I expected her to work on the inside and do house stuff, and she wanted to be out with me. So the same goes with clients, especially new starting up businesses. Sometimes you just take a client because it's money in the door, but you're doing something outside of the scope of what you're really designed to do. And then you kind of get pigeonholed into that service where everybody's coming for that service. And before you know it, you look up, you have a clientele base that you're providing a service to outside of what you originally designed the company to do.
Not reflective of what you really wanted the company to be. And then you're stuck.
And then you're
Some
stuck.
of you are saying, why am I stuck? Why can't I grow? It's 9 times out of 10, it's because there's some things that you don't know at the core of why you built your business. It's gotten off course. Mm-hmm. And so because it's gotten off course, you find yourself kind of having these triggers happen over and over and over. And the faster and the quicker you realize, wait a minute, something's off. Mm-hmm. Something's off at home. Something is off at work, wherever it may be, with whoever it may be, the faster it can be addressed, straightened out, and we can move on. Now, this has been fun.
Yeah, it has actually.
It has been?
It has been.
It has been fun. I've enjoyed this conversation because I think it's a very important conversation that people don't look at it to understand kind of the trends. And that's who we are. We look at trends every day, all day long. Yep. But even the trends in your life, not dealing with your marriage, but personally, individually, the trends in your life, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Why do I keep repeating this? Why do I keep going through this cycle? Why does this trigger keep happening? Where is it? What's happening? What's going on? That's something that you have to really understand, and you really have to evaluate so that you can know. Now there's good triggers and there's bad triggers. That's right. There's good trends and there's bad trends. So if you understand what's good and what's bad, guess what you can do? You can increase those things that you like.
That's right.
And then learn to start making different decisions to decrease those things that are not working in your life.
Yeah, but what really happens is a lot of times we're not using our words or having a partner that understands what you're really trying to say, and those negative trends become elephants in your room. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Elephants
that
in your room.
Suffocating you, right? Because they get bigger. Yep. It's a philosophy of mine, and I've been saying this forever. I have to teach someone at some point. Now, as a kid, I don't know a whole lot of things, but as I grow up, I have to teach people how to be my sibling, how to be my husband, how to be my customer, how to be my friend, because you don't know. I have to know what I like, what I dislike, what I will tolerate, what I won't tolerate, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a friend, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a parent. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to recreate that parent-child relationship. Right. Because you had to deal with certain things growing up, but you realize I really don't like when this is said or when I'm treated this way. or when this happens. The same thing with clients. If you don't treat them how to treat you, you can't go at 2 a.m. and walk into a Macy's, right? I can't just order up Starbucks anytime I want 24/7,
right?
Because they have hours that they work. You and your business should have hours that you work. It's unreliable for someone to think that as soon as they call me, I have to be at the phone to call. If I'm at the phone every time when you call, then guess what? I ain't getting no work done.
Yeah, you're not busy.
Something ain't
you're
right.
Not busy enough. Yeah.
Something's not right at all. So with that being said, you have to treat people, you have to teach people how you want to be treated. So I have to teach my husband, when he says something and it hurts my feelings, hey, that hurt my feelings. That's and right. I remember when I first used to say that, he had never heard it before, and he would start laughing like, oh, you're so funny. Because he just knew me as a tough guy.
Yeah.
Now, remember, guys who are watching live, ask us some questions in the chat area, put some things in the chat. We're here for you, not just for you to listen to us, but we're here to make sure you're getting what you need.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, when I first met this young lady here in college, again, I felt like she was a tough guy. And then when we reconnected right before we got married, she was just kind of hardcore. I never saw her cry. She might get a little frustrated with a couple things or whatnot. We get married and we're watching a movie and she starts crying out of control. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I was just lost. I was like, who is this person?
You know, I remember, he was like, you just cry all the time now. And I remember when you've never cried before.
Never.
And so what I had to tell him is this. I said, because I was a female raising 2 kids, and guess what? I had to be strong. I had to be strong for me. I had to be strong for them. I had to be strong for everybody. So the only time I cried, if I needed to cry, was in the privacy of my room, in my bedroom. Well, he wasn't there. So he never saw that until we got married. Mm-hmm. Dude, you're with me. You're with me at night. Sorry, I don't have anywhere to go now because we share a bathroom, we share a room, we share a house. Yeah. There's nowhere to go. So you get this. But it was also a time for me that I was able to, which would be something good to talk about. I think this is something else we can talk about. Mm-hmm. I had somebody else that the world wasn't 100% on my shoulders anymore. So I could soften up and be part of the softer side. Mm-hmm. But I think that was part of when we talk about triggers and we talk about connecting with each other and being on the same page. That's a page that he had never seen before. So getting on that page took a little time for me to say, that hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm. I feel uncomfortable. Please don't do this. So we have a pact. We will never lie for each other, and we won't let anyone do anything that they don't want to do. We won't make them do anything that they don't want to do. So let me say this again, because I was just slurring all over the place. I promise the only thing I've been drinking is tea. I promise. I promise. We won't lie for each other. And number 2, we won't make each other do anything that the other person doesn't want to do, because I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do, and I love him enough to not want him to do anything that he doesn't want to do. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about that, that takes some learning though, right?
It does.
That takes some communication. That takes some, we're not on the same page right now, dude. This is not going to work. It also is getting on the same page, maybe being from 2 different backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, sometimes it takes a little while to pick up on the trigger, right? She loves to do certain things, charity events and going to musicals and things of that nature. I did not come from that background. Yeah. And so, you know, it was, well, I'm not going to make you do what you don't want to do. And she would go off and leave me at home or whatever I was doing. Yeah. And, you know, for a little while, I was fine with that. But then I started thinking about it, was like, well, this is my partner. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She sits down with me and watches football, but She doesn't. She watches it, but I can't say she loves football like I love football.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't I go and do something with her that she loves?
Mm-hmm.
And now I moderately enjoy, going to certain events and going to musicals and things of that nature.
Yeah. But some of those things were things that got us off of page with each other, because if I'm constantly going out and doing things and he's at home, guess what? I be talking about so-and-so was crazy or so-and-so did whatever, and you have no idea the reference or anything, especially if it's something that I'm doing on a regular basis. I'm not just saying going out with the girlfriends, or he ain't got to know Airbnb everywhere I go, just like I don't have to be with him everywhere. But when you're doing things regularly on a basis, you're growing. Everything you do is part of your process of growing and learning and retaining things. And now you're not retaining together, which I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just saying that could be a place that could allow you guys to kind of get off the same page when the other one is just totally 100% disinterested in it. Football. He likes to stay home and watch it. Football is his wife in the fall, winter time. I'm just gonna say it. She was there before me. She's gonna be there after me. She's just there. Football is it. And I took originally I was like most females, just upset because I do this Thursdays when you see me coming. I'm like, hey, it's Thursdays, because at one point football didn't come on Thursdays. And then it started coming on Thursdays, and it was our joke that it's Thursday, meaning it's football day. So leave me alone. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday night football, right? That's a lot of time that there's no interaction. There's a lot of time that there's 5 computer screens for fantasy football. There's a lot of time that there's time for disconnect. Mm-hmm. But what I realized is my husband doesn't have a whole lot of hobbies. He loves football. I mean, when I say I tell him he should be a sports analyst or something, because he loves football and he really knows not just his team. He knows football, right? And he can give you facts and history and all kinds of things. So if that's something he loves and he's not out in the street, he's at home, he's not at a friend's house, he's at home, why am I upset with him? And why don't I learn something? So now we have a place to connect because I care and love about him. I'm going to learn enough of it. And it wasn't that I despise football. I grew up in a football family. We love football. But I wasn't an ESPN get up in the morning, ESPN go to bed at night, ESPN. I mean, I could tell you pretty much every theme song of every show that came on and every newscaster and everything, because that's what it was. And I said, well, let me learn. Let me sit and learn. So then I would be texting him, hey, so-and-so got traded. Did you see that? Or, hey, what's happening with so-and-so? Because it gave us another place to have conversation and let him know that I'm connecting with you so that we can stay on the same page.
Yeah, and one thing about the ESPN, I would watch the show and then the show would come right back on and she's like, why would I watch it again? But now I'm reading the bottom line. And once she understood that, she was like, oh, that makes sense now why you're watching the same thing again, because all she saw was the first play and then the replay.
Yeah. And it was driving me crazy because I'm like, look, it ain't much love of football ever or ESPN or sports, period. But when you say, no, I listened to this episode, but I didn't watch the ticker. And there's certain things that are happening in the ticker because a lot is going on ESPN all the time. Well, it used to be. Now they're just doing a whole lot of replays. Yeah. But, going on all the time, it made me learn something. Mm-hmm. But it also allowed me to not be as annoyed, again, to get off of the same page. Because now I'm annoyed that, dude, I done gave you the first time to watch this. Why don't we watch this again? Okay, I'm going to leave you alone so you can read and I can go do something else. So, or I would take football season, Sundays. Those were his days. Those were my massage days and my girlfriend days that I would do things with my girlfriends. While he was watching football, we go to church in the morning and come home. And I knew once we eat together, set him up, his little station set up, and he was good to go for the rest of the night. And I would go and have my fun and play and do all the things that I want to do. So we had our alone time where we enjoyed, and then we could come back together.
But here's what happens, guys. Again, if you really care and want to be with your partner and learn your partner, first, you have to grow along with them, or you will become uneven. Yeah. And so if you're in business and one of you is getting coached and the other one is not getting
Both of you
coached,
have to be coached.
both of you need to be getting coached,
Yeah.
because if not, you're going to get off kilter just because one is growing and one is not.
Yeah, but you genuinely both have to be there. You can't be there begrudgingly.
Definitely. I've been to some coaching programs where their spouses was not in the business, and you could see where rifts was happening at home, because the person that is at home is not seeing the growth in the person that is getting coached, and they just see a different person coming home, and they're like, what in the world? Who's been brainwashing you?
I sent you off on the plane this way, and you came back. I don't know who this person is. Absolutely. You have to grow together, find ways to grow together. Doesn't mean that all your interests have to be the same. Does not mean at all. Because you didn't marry you. You married another human being, which means that you're going to have differences, embracing those differences, loving those differences. He doesn't like to discuss social topics a lot. Yeah. Guess what? I do. So what does he do? He finds me podcasts. He sends me articles so that he doesn't have to discuss them. But I can get a feel for what's happening. And that's another way that we kind of stay on the same page, because he kind of understands what I'm saying, what I'm thinking. Even if he won't talk back to me, it's okay. We figured it out. We'll make it work. Listen, this has been amazing. The same goes with your clients. I want to end with this. The same goes with your clients. You have to build a relationship with them. You have to, just like you're understanding, you have to understand what's happening with them. Don't look at them just as a dollar figure. Because if you're only looking at your client and treating them as a dollar, think about how people treat you as a dollar. How does that make you feel? So have a relationship with your clients. I'm not saying that y'all got to be best buddies and go hang out. I don't do all of that. But I do have enough of a relationship to care about what's happening in their lives. And it helps me to be better in helping them with what they need in their business, because I'm understanding other dynamics of how they operate, how they process things. Some of your people are going to be whiz at technology. Some of your people, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to be whizzes at technology. So knowing what person you need to spend time where with, how to spend that time with them, knowing what products and services will work best for them, and how to treat each other. Them learning you learning them. But if you don't tell them and you don't start that relationship off correctly, it's going to be a mess, and you're going to end up with some of the same things that you keep getting over and over and over, and now you're frustrated in business and you don't want to do business, or you're frustrated at home and you're tearing each other up because of client issues that you probably could overcome. Yeah. And before we go, I see that we have a couple of questions. Okay. Who picks up on whose triggers first? I think Cherelle picks up on triggers before I do. I'm more of a discerning kind of person, and she's very quick-witted. And so I think that causes her to pick up on triggers before I do. There's also a question here about, do I watch the same shows or watch shows with Cherelle? Yes, because the reality of it is we're in a partnership. So partnership means 50-50 in most cases, not all cases, but the TV is 50-50. And so, okay, 70-30. Give me a little bit here. But anyway, but yes. Yes, darling. Yes.
It's
you remember we said we weren't going to lie.
Okay. All right. I grab the remote every time I sit in front of the TV, whether she's watching something or not. And it's a very, very bad habit that I'm trying to change. But I do try to watch some of the shows that she likes to watch as well, because I want to stay involved with some of the opinions that she has. And you learn about the person by some of the comments that they make, by things that they see. And so, yes, I watch some of the same shows.
But I don't watch a whole lot of TV.
But you're right.
Because I could be home all day with no TV on.
That is true.
Yeah, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I try to watch a lot of things that he watches, because I'm really not interested in TV like that. but that's a way for him to turn off his mind and just have kind of mindless something happening. Because if I'm watching TV, I'm analyzing. Like, right. So that's why I don't watch a lot of TV, because I'm in it and I'm analyzing and I'm.
Prime example, we go to a lot of movies.
Yeah.
As she said, that's one of the ways we try to stay on key with one another. Mm-hmm. She watches a movie and she's analyzing the movie. Mm-hmm. I watch the movie to turn my mind off, because I'm one of those persons that my mind is always going. My mind is thinking about the next business deal, the next business transaction. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do next? Oh, I need to have a conversation with so-and-so. So I'm getting my bullet points ready for that conversation, whether the conversation goes that way or not. That's just how I'm wired. Yeah. I'm replaying other conversations that I've already had. Oh, I should have said that, or I could have said that. Do you think he or she meant that when they said it? Yeah. My mind constantly goes. And so for me, TV is just something that's on that causes me to pay attention, so that I can slow my mind down to kind of relax. Mm-hmm. This one watches it to analyze it. And then we leave the movie and she wants to have a 2-hour conversation about a 2-hour movie that we just saw. And I'm thinking, woman, let's just eat dinner and have a conversation.
Even if it's, what was the movie? Captain America, the one when they're there at war.
Oh, Civil War?
Civil War, yeah. I was ready to have a whole conversation about that whole movie. I mean, I just really was. So it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. I just pull things from inspiration and pull things from other places. For me, it's music. Yeah. I love music. And I can spend the whole day just turning on some music, having everything off, and music speaks to me in a lot of different ways, and it has to do with how I grew up, and music was a big part of our family. No, we're not singers. No, I don't think any of us can carry a tune, but music itself was a big part of our family.
God's going to give you a voice.
See, that's a whole nother conversation. But in all of that, I've never prayed and asked God for a voice, but apparently he thinks that God's going to give me one day, because I'm always singing. But even with that, it's finding what other people like. And we tune out to music sometimes. We can get, go there. He's not a big music person like I am, in the way that I am.
In the way that she is.
Whereas mindless for me, that's not mindless for him. But it's just finding those things to keep you on kilter, to keep you balanced when you get off balance, because life is life. Life gives you whirlwinds, and it's going to take you off balance, whether it's business, whether it's personal, in the marriage, in the home, even when this is with kids, with friends. This philosophy goes way beyond marriage and business, but I think that it's a key part of keeping marriage and business moving the way that it should. Mm-hmm. It's not that every day is going to be roses. No, but it's just identifying those things and being ready to figure out how to make shifts so that you can get back to things working in a good order.
And guys, all I'm saying is try. Yeah. Try with your partner, try with your spouse, try. Because what you'll find is you'll start doing some things that they like. I mean, she mentioned the Captain America movie. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we had a deep conversation about after that movie was they were fighting each other, but the reality is they all had the same goal. They just had different perceptions of how to get there, which caused them to fight amongst themselves.
And the enemy knew that the only way he could beat them was for them to beat themselves.
That's a word.
That
is a true word.
It is. And that's pretty much when you talk about marriage and business, it's the same thing. Those two philosophies are very much the same philosophy. Yep. We have enjoyed this time with you guys. We thank you so much for being here. We are here every Thursday, 7 p.m. More Than I Do.
More Than I Do.
With Derrick and Cherelle.
Connect with us at morethanIdo.life. And again, we want to thank Every.Black for hosting us this week on their podcast.
Yes. Every.Black, Jimmy Davis hosts us on Every.Black podcast. So you can go to Every.Black. Black is the .black. It's the new .com. So it's not every.com. It's Every.Black. It's all you have to put in www.every.black and go and check out podcasts, all kinds of podcasts. This is just one. And all kinds of the masterminds and all kinds of things for your business. And then if you want more information or want to register so that you can keep up with what's happening with us and More Than I Do.
MoreThanIDo.life, LIFE.life.
All right, guys.
All
Have
right.
a fantastic rest of your week or weekend.
Yeah.
We love you. And until next Thursday, take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.